Welcome back to Newsx and our rolling coverage of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's tour to the United Kingdom. Viewers were expecting PM Modi to wrap up his historic UK visit and tour with a meeting with King Charles III. Prime Minister Narendra Modi is gifting King Charles as part of his Ped Maa Ke Naam initiative, a tree sapling which will be planted at the Sandringham Estate. And we're also, of course, expecting the Prime Minister to have that meeting with King Charles, followed by the historic signing of the free trade agreement between India and the UK. However, a tone has been set by the Prime Ministers of both the nations today, wherein each has made it clear that in the new global order and a new global era, we're no longer limited to simply discussing trade deals, but there is a requirement for a deeper alliance and a stronger partnership. And in that spirit, we are expecting the Prime Minister to, of course, conclude his visit with a meeting with King Charles III. What does this truly mean for India-UK relations going ahead? I take that conversation forward. I have with me Ambassador S.T. Muni, former diplomat, Joyita Basu, editor of the Sunday Guardian, and Professor Madhav Nalapad, editorial director of the Sunday Guardian, with me on the broadcast. Let me begin with Ambassador S.T. Muni. Ambassador Muni, for our viewers tuning in who may not perhaps grasp the significance of Prime Minister Modi meeting King Charles III, if you could shed some light on the same, sir. Why is it important that this particular meeting is taking place as we wrap up a historic trade deal with the UK? Ambassador S.D. Muni, can you hear me?
Well, you have to repeat the question. I didn't get it really.
Ambassador Muni, I'm asking if you could perhaps from your perspective tell us, why is this meeting between the Prime Minister Narendra Modi and King Charles III significant as we wrap up a historic trade deal with the United Kingdom, sir?
I think it's a sign of respect for India, and it's a sign of respect for Indian leadership. But it is largely a protocol meeting. It is actually meeting head of the state in England, which is the King. And I mean, I see this as yet another step in consolidating the strategic partnership for which we have worked all these days, and which I think Prime Minister Modi's visit, the FTA and other agreements have been signed. So it's largely the consolidation and a firm political stamp on what we have been trying to do in upgrading our relationship with the United Kingdom.
Right, absolutely. Professor Nalapad, I want to understand from you as well, sir, as far as people-to-people ties are concerned, it does seem that that is an extremely important aspect, sir, that has been highlighted by both the Prime Ministers as well. So how does that tie into this meeting with King Charles?
Look, first of all, I'd like to point out that Prime Minister Starmer said that the FTA signed with India was more important than any such deal signed since Brexit, which is saying a lot. And secondly, King Charles is loved in England. I mean, if I can go into a little bit of British history, he's dearly loved for the fact that he was the longest serving Prince of Wales. He waited about 70 years before becoming king, after becoming the Crown Prince, the Prince of Wales. And then of course, he was in love with Camilla, and the family were not very happy about it. And then, of course, he married Diana. The marriage ended in separation. Finally, he was able to marry Camilla in 2005. And finally, after 70 years or so, he was on the sad passing of his mother, Queen Elizabeth. I think in 2022, he was made the king. And initially, Camilla was called the Queen Consort, but in accordance with wishes of Queen Elizabeth. But within a year, in 2023, Charles changed that to full Queen. And I think it's a sign of the times that that happened, and there was no reaction at all, no adverse reaction, far from it. What a far cry from 1936, when King Edward VIII had to abdicate because he married a divorcee. Camilla also is one. She's an extraordinary person, and she's been very close to Charles for a long time. Look, this is a royal gesture, and this has been a visit, a royal visit, if I may say so. And meeting the King of England, yes, it may be that he has no power at all. That Professor Muni, who's a master at these things, is quite correct in that. But the symbolism is tremendous. And that too, this kind of exhibition taking place in one of the Royal Palace grounds, Sandringham, which is such an important royal family retreat. Very, very important. You know, Sandringham, Buckingham, Balmoral, these are some of the great royal family retreats. So it's a signal honor, frankly, to the Prime Minister and to India that this is being organized in the palace grounds, and the King will meet the Prime Minister. So I would say very honestly that this is a great gesture, and it's a very, very important gesture on the part of the British to show that they're very keen on a strategic alliance with India, no matter what the differences are, and we have had a few, such as over Ukraine, but the trade deal is now a reality, which again is a very important trade deal, because the UK is very important in the rest of Europe. And so meeting the King, meeting King Charles, is of immense significance from the point of view of the UK public, who basically love the King for his devotion to Queen Camilla, and basically they love him. And by this meeting, Prime Minister Modi has signaled, in a sense, this royal connect, and therefore, from a public opinion point of view, also, I think this visit has been a grand success by India, by Prime Minister Modi, an indication of sincerity of the UK in trying to work out a close strategic relationship with India. Thank you.
Okay, all right. I want to bring in Mr. Keith Vaz into the conversation as well then. Mr. Vaz, I want to understand from your perspective. Of course, everybody understands the importance of the Crown as far as the UK is concerned, and there have been a lot of talks lately about the significance of the Crown and its popularity as well. Keeping that in mind, how important is it, or rather was it, for the Prime Minister of India to hold this meeting with King Charles for both India and the UK as far as soft ties and people-to-people ties are concerned? What message do you think is being sent out?
Well, I think it's a courtesy visit. Good afternoon, everyone from London. It's a courtesy visit. King Charles is the head of state. He started his holidays in Norfolk, and that is why Prime Minister Modi has to go there. I think we're very lucky to have Narendra Modi come to the United Kingdom and sign this deal. I think he is being treated with proper respect as one of the most important leaders in the world. But we shouldn't go overboard about the visit to King Charles. I think Charles is good at meeting a lot of people, and he would have wanted to have met, I'm sure, Prime Minister Modi. But as we all know, we live in a constitutional democracy, so the power really lies with Keir Starmer and an elected parliament. And it's clear that the deal that's been done has been of benefit to both India and the UK, even though trade between our two countries is actually quite small. I'm so glad we still have people like Professor Nadev, who is very much a fan of the monarchy. I am too, but I think we mustn't get carried away with this. Maybe if he wanted a grand gesture, the King could have allowed Prime Minister Modi perhaps to borrow the Kohinoor diamond and to take it back to India on display for a long period of time.
Well, Mr. Vaz, sorry to interrupt you, but that would take away the sheen of the trade agreement. I mean, it's a radical idea that you've proposed there. I hope it falls on someone's ears in the United Kingdom. But go ahead, sir, proceed. But like I said, that would have, we would just be talking about that. Nobody even would be discussing the trade deal. But go ahead, sir.
Look, I have been saying this for many, many years, and so have other people. We can't understand why this is not the case. Look, let's not go overboard about this trade deal. It's been going on the negotiations have been going on for 3 years. The level of trade between Britain and India is at 1.9 and 1.8% respectively. We're going to have a good deal, I'm sure. There's going to be more jobs created. But as I've said before, there are other issues that have not been addressed at this meeting between the Prime Minister and Mr. Modi, which is what's happening to all these Indian students who are in this country, 186,000 of them, who are having their post-study work cut by 6 months. They may not choose to come to the UK, which would be far more damaging than buying more Rolls-Royces at cheaper prices in Mumbai or in Delhi. What would also be damaging is what's going to happen next week, the 22nd of July. Indian chefs who've been able to come here on a special route to make our South Asian restaurants the best in the world outside India, they're not going to be able to have that concession anymore. So these are also big issues. Let's not get carried away. It's a great deal. It's been worked out for a number of years. There are other big issues between India and the United Kingdom that need to be addressed. Why don't we get Keir Starmer to go over to Delhi and talk about those issues, because they are equally important, and I hope very much that they will do so. On the question of King Charles, I think Professor Nalapad has got excellent, much better knowledge than I have, and I'm a member of the Privy Council that is in theory supposed to be the Privy Council of the monarch. The fact is, Charles does have a particular relationship with India. The King has been many, many times, I think more than any other member of the royal family, perhaps all of them put together. And certainly in his dealings with the diaspora community in the UK, he has been exceptionally good. So I'm glad they're meeting. I'm sure they've got a lot to talk about. But let us put this in the political context. After all, next week, King Charles is meeting Donald Trump, which is quite a different meeting for him to have. And I'm not sure he will be as excited as meeting Donald Trump as he clearly will be excited and privileged to meet someone of the stature as Narendra Modi.
Right, absolutely. Joyita, bringing you into the conversation, just from your perspective, Joyita, as far as people-to-people ties are concerned, and I keep mentioning that because ultimately that's the bottom line, right? No matter how many trade agreements we have on paper, till the time we don't fix some of our people-to-people ties, which we've seen strained in the past few years, specifically due to Khalistani extremism being given a platform in the United Kingdom, Pakistan's agenda being given a platform in the United Kingdom, it becomes important for certain soft gestures. So do you feel that somewhere we are now headed in the right direction as far as our relations with the UK are concerned?
Well, look at it this way. When it comes to royalty, we belong to a sovereign, independent nation, very Republican in our outlook. Royalty does not impress us. Definitely it does not. I mean, frankly, we could not give two hoots about what King Charles thinks about India or what India. Frankly, it does not concern us. We are just not interested. But yes, since he is the monarch of England, monarch of the UK, I mean, okay, due respect should be given to him, no doubt about it. This is a courtesy visit, and that is how it should. It starts and ends there, nothing beyond that. And I just hope when King Charles, okay, he may be the King of England and Commonwealth, whatever, but Prime Minister Modi is also the leader of right now the world's largest democracy when it comes to the number of people, the world's, I think, fourth largest economy right now. So, first of all, let's hope whatever the protocol is, that it's going to be a clear handshake. I'm waiting to see whether there's going to be a hug between the two leaders. And I hope that the protocol has not asked Mr. Modi to bend his neck to King Charles. Sorry, not acceptable. We are not going to accept that. So whenever it is a meeting between equals, and that is how it should be, even he may be king. Okay, but when it comes to actual people's support, it is the Prime Minister who has the support. Because if you look at England, the royalty, I mean, even in their country, there is, the support towards royalty is decreasing. And it has decreased over the time. So frankly, as I said again, royalty does not impress me. But yes, this gesture matters. So if you're talking about that, what would matter much to people like us, independent minded. And for God's sake, we are proud Indians. What matters to us is the UK government, basically ensuring that these Khalistanis do not try to vitiate relations between the two countries. That's what matters. Pomp is okay. Pomp and show is okay. What matters is the brass tacks. The trade deal is a very good deal, no doubt about it. But the security issue, why is Vijay Mallya still sitting there? Why are they blocking his return? So these are niggling issues that are still plaguing the relationship. Let's sort it out. First of all, sort out the problem that these Pakistanis, the meat puris and all, they are creating for Indians in the UK. Sort out the Khalistani issue. Sorry, so as I said, Devika, sorry, I am not impressed.
Okay, Professor Nalapad, your thoughts on the same as well. I want to understand from your perspective. The Prime Minister was very clear in his statement today when he raised matters of Khalistani, pardon me, he didn't say Khalistan, but he meant extremist forces, and that was a clear hint towards Khalistani extremism. And he also spoke about economic offences. We've now noted that CBI has, with its UK counterpart, signed an MOU on economic offences. So are we now somewhere setting the tone, Professor Nalapad, for other nations as well, that if you want to have a free trade agreement with India, firstly, it cannot be on the basis of deadlines, it cannot be on the basis of bullying us, but it has to be on a common table where we put out what besides trade is possibly bothering us about activities on your soil, and you can perhaps do the same for us.
Look, Devika, first of all, I think it's a wake-up call for Donald Trump, who's meeting King Charles, because he has been basically demanding, not requesting, demanding all sorts of concessions from India, which Prime Minister Modi is absolutely refusing to give. So the reality is that soft power counts. Prime Minister Modi has accumulated soft power around the world. It's not because he thinks it's just, he likes pomp and show. That's not true at all. It's because soft power works in solving hard problems. The Khalistani issue, I call it the K issue. I don't dignify them with the word Khalistani. The K issue is a major problem, and it will be resolved in an amicable atmosphere. And as you very correctly pointed out, the relevant protocols have been signed, so that anybody who is dealing in a way which is hostile to India in Britain or hostile to Britain in India will be dealt with, and I'm sure will be extradited. These are real achievements. These are real developments. And look, I mean, I'm very happy that our participants, barring me, are such fervent, detractors of monarchy. But in my own family, I'm afraid, I have a few little monarchical roots, so I'm not going to join that crowd. I'm sorry, because for more than 1,000 years, we have certain monarchical roots, and naturally I've got that sympathy. But I want to say that Prime Minister Modi has been given a royal welcome by Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer, and a royal welcome by King Charles in his own home. Tell me, if you like somebody, are you going to entertain him in a hotel or in your own home? King Charles can entertain him in one of these formal entertainment zones. He's entertaining him in one of his favorite homes, a home he's been loving for most of his life. going to for most of his life, finding solace in that place. Especially we had his problems with Princess Diana, and he remained loyal to Camilla. And I must compliment Queen Camilla. Both of them make an excellent pair. I'm very happy that Charles has found happiness, especially because he has now been diagnosed with cancer. And I think the presence of Camilla by his side is a big thing. And I want to end, Devika, by saying that if my information is correct, Charles has said that, I hope it's a long way off, if something should happen to him, then Harry and Meghan should be invited and should then be welcomed as part of the royal family. In other words, there should be a grand reconciliation of the family. And I think that's a very noble thought. And I think it speaks very well of King Charles, and it speaks very well of Queen Camilla. By the way, she was called the Queen Consort, as you know, in 2022, when King Charles was coronated, as per the wishes of Elizabeth, the former Charles's mother. But in 2023, Charles declared her the Queen, and the British people accepted her. They took to her, and that shows the change in Britain. And yes, Narendra Modi shows the change in India. India is not going to bend the knee to anybody.
Right.
It is Keir Starmer or Donald Trump or anybody else, especially Prime Minister Modi. But soft power works in solving hard problems, and that is the lesson in geopolitics which I hope people are going to learn. Thank you.
Right, absolutely. On that note, I've completely run out of time, but I thank all of our guests for joining us to take that conversation forward. With that, we sip into a very short break.